The school garden is the ideal place to teach the merits of organic farming to our children. Through gardening, we also become aware how we ourselves are part of the web of life. And over time, this experience of ecology in nature gives us a sense of place. We become aware of how we are embedded in an ecosystem, in a landscape with a particular flora and fauna, in a particular social system and culture. Besides, for children, being in the garden is something magical. As one of our teachers put it, one of the most exciting things about the garden is that we are creating a magical childhood place for children who would not have such a place otherwise, who would not be in touch with the earth and the things that grow. You can teach all you want, but being out there, growing and cooking and eating, that's an ecology that touches their heart and will make it important to them. Now, from the more theoretical point of view, when we apply the new conception of life to studying the structures, metabolic processes, and evolution of the myriads of species on the planet, we notice immediately that the outstanding characteristic of the biosphere is that it has sustained life for billions of years. How does the Earth do that? Well, to understand how nature sustains life, we need to move from biology to ecology, because sustained life is a property of an ecosystem rather than a single organism or species. Over billions of years of evolution, the Earth's ecosystems have evolved certain principles of organization to sustain the web of life. Knowledge of these principles of organization or principles of ecology is what we call ecological literacy. In the coming decades, the survival of humanity will depend on our ecological literacy, on our ability to understand the basic principles of ecology and to live accordingly. This means that ecoliteracy must become a critical skill for politicians, business leaders, and professionals in all spheres, and should be the most important part of education at all levels, from primary and secondary schools to colleges and universities, and on to the continuing education and training of professionals. We need to teach our children, our students, and our corporate and political leaders, if you wish, the fundamental facts of life. For example, that one species waste is another species food. That matter cycles continually through the web of life. That the energy driving most of these ecological cycles flows from the sun. That diversity assures resilience. And that life, from its beginning, more than 3 billion years ago, did not take over the planet by combat, but by networking. Well, at the Center for Ecoliteracy, we have summarized these principles of ecology, and I've given you only a few examples. We have summarized them in terms of 6 basic ecological concepts. And the point is not whether there are 5 or 6 or 4 or 8, but we have found these 6 concepts very proper and convenient for our pedagogy of schooling for sustainability. Our first principle is networks. All members of an ecological community are interconnected in a vast and intricate network of relationships, the web of life. They derive their essential properties and, in fact, their very existence from these relationships. Then the second principle we call nested systems. Throughout nature, we find multi-leveled structures of systems nesting within systems. Each of these forms an integrated whole with a boundary, while at the same time being part of a larger whole. Then comes cycles. The interactions among the members of an ecological community involve the exchange of resources in continual cycles. The cycles in an ecosystem intersect with the larger cycles in the bioregion and the planetary biosphere. Principle number 4 is flows. All organisms are open systems, which means that they need a continual flow of energy to stay alive. The constant flow of solar energy sustains life and drives most ecological cycles. Then development, the movement in time, the unfolding of life, manifesting as development and learning at the individual level and as evolution at the species level, involves the interplay of creativity and mutual adaptation in which organisms and environment co-evolve. And finally, dynamic balance. All ecological cycles act as feedback loops so that the ecological community regulates and organizes itself, maintaining a state of dynamic balance characterized by continual fluctuations. Well, there's a lot of information in these basic ecological concepts, and they can be used very well and have been used in our school as guiding principles for doing lesson plans and for developing the school curriculum. And in fact, it doesn't really matter where you start, because all these principles of ecology are closely interrelated. They are just different aspects of a single fundamental pattern of organization that has enabled nature to sustain life for billions of years. In a nutshell, nature sustains life by creating and nurturing communities. We know that no individual organism can exist in isolation. Animals depend on the photosynthesis of plants for their energy needs. Plants depend on the carbon dioxide produced by animals, as well as on the nitrogen fixed by bacteria at their roots. And together, plants, animals, and microorganisms regulate the entire biosphere and maintain the conditions conducive to life. So we see that sustainability is not an individual property, but a property of an entire web of relationships. It always involves a whole community. This is the profound lesson we need to learn from nature. The way to sustain life is to build and nurture community. A sustainable human community interacts with other communities, human and non-human, in ways that enable them to live and develop according to their nature. Sustainability does not mean that things do not change. It is a dynamic process of co-evolution rather than a static state. Well, these are some of the principles of ecology and sustainability that we teach in our schools.